time, why don't we get started? So first things first, I'd like to uh, congratulate all of you on the awarding of our FY23 Women and Minority in Construction grant. The This is a exciting time for us. We made some pretty drastic changes to the allowables, or to the, I guess, deliverables that we had on this grant program for this fiscal year. And we had a huge increase in the number of interested applicants, and therefore a pretty good increase in the number of grantees awarded this fiscal year. So that's exciting, and we're looking to see and hopefully um, expand from there on how we do things moving forward within this New Jersey build model, so that we can start seeing an increase in the number of women and minorities working in the trades. So, as I said, here's my information. Next slide. So here is a listing of all of you and the occupations in which you are going to be training for this fiscal year. We're looking to place 352 participants into our NJ Build Women, Minority, and Construction trades, and hopefully we'll get all 352 of those individuals into employment, into the trades. I know that's all of our goal. Um, that's exciting. That's definitely a huge number and a huge increase from previous years. So it's definitely also good to see some new occupations listed within here, some of them being within the green energy zones, because those types of jobs are definitely a push here by our administration within the Department of Labor, but also by the governor's office. So next slide. So first things first, it's important for you all to know that all of your participants are going to have to be registered with the One Stop Career Center. In the past, we used to have you refer all your clients over to the One Stop. That is not necessary any longer. You can have them log on to this job source website that you see listed here through the Department of Labor, and they will create a free account right at the top there under Get Started. That will register them with the One Stop. It will also provide to them a ton of tools that they can utilize for their job search, to create a resume, cover letter, and a bunch of other information that they can look through or learn information about employment here in New Jersey. We feel that this website by itself is a huge tool that you can utilize with your clients, but as well, they can use it on their own in their self search for anything that they're looking to try and do moving forward. So that job source website is very key. Please take note of it, and please make sure that all of your participants are logging onto this website and registering with the One Stop system. Obviously, there are still resources that are provided through the One Stop that you would want to refer your clients over to that One Stop in order to see whether or not they'd be eligible to take advantage of. Not to mention the normal resources of their help with employment and job search. So that's just a key piece that we like to point out at the beginning of our presentations when we have new grantees. Next slide. So now I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, David Spector, who is currently going to be your lead representative here within the Office of Apprenticeship, and he'll talk to you a little bit more about the women and minorities in construction deliverables and requirements. David?
Thanks so much, Bill, and good afternoon, everyone. And as Bill mentioned, congratulations on your award, and we look forward to working with you and your organizations throughout the contract period of your grant. So we can move on to the next slide. So here we're going to go over some of the responsibilities and expected outcomes throughout the course of the grant period. Number one, making sure that the minimum number of participants into your program, as outlined in your proposal, that's one of the key components of your responsibilities throughout the grant. Also, ensuring that 75% of the participants graduate and are placed into one of the following, which was highlighted in the NGO, USDOL approved registered apprenticeship program, or construction trade related employment at a rate of no lower than $15 an hour. Also, throughout the contract, you're going to be maintaining records and reporting for your activities and expenditures on a monthly basis. Myself or another member of our team will reach out to you with a little friendly reminder, just making sure that you submit it on time, usually by the 15th of the month. So it's important we get it in so we can see your progress, and also making sure that your expenditures are paid on time as well. Number 4, also provide follow-up retention services to your participants at 30 and 60-day intervals. This was highlighted as well in the NGO.
Can I just add something to number 2 here on this list that's important for you all to take note of? Based on the way you applied for this grant and based on what you stated you were going to provide to your participants, it's important that you're concentrating on what it is you are placing them into. If you're providing them with a pre-apprenticeship program, the expectation is that you're going to be placing them into a registered apprenticeship program to the best of your abilities. Um, the goal here, obviously, we are the Office of Apprenticeship, and NJDOL does allow for the grantees to place people into stuff other than apprenticeship. But if you're contracted to place people into apprenticeship, you should be working and concentrating mostly on doing so, because that will be something that we'll check and balance and ask you about. Your deliverables within your application allowed you to decide yourself before you applied what you were going to place these participants into, and it's important that we stick to that mainly because your application was scored based on that and you were granted based on that information. um, so we ultimately, there's always the door and the ability for communication and conversations to be had, but it's really important that you concentrate on placing these individuals the way you stated you were going to place them within your applications, and also now within your contracts that were signed. So just making sure that's clear.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Bill. Appreciate that. Uh,
Uh, David, somebody asked if we could say a little more about item number 4. So, and David can add to this if he feels necessary. Ultimately, women and minorities are all NJ Build grants require that you provide continuous service to your clients even after they've been placed into employment or into that registered apprenticeship. And it's up to you to work with them and those employers or those placement agencies to ensure retention of those participants at the 30 and 60-day intervals. So once you place them on January 1st, you're going to want to make sure that you've worked with them for the next 60 days to ensure that the employer or that RA program keeps them at the 30-day mark and at the 60-day mark. Hopefully that's clear, and that makes things make a little more sense if it wasn't initially.
Thank you very much. All right, we can go on to the next slide. Okay, so some of the deliverable dates for the contract. Contract commences on June 1st, and will go until November 30th of 2024. As I mentioned in the last slide, the activity and expenditure reports are due by the 15th of every month. This way, we can review everything. If there are any edits, modifications, or changes, we can coordinate with you regarding your activity or expenditure. And as I mentioned, someone from our team or myself will reach out to send you a reminder to submit your report by the 15th of each month. Also, each participant must earn one industry value credential throughout the length of your contract. And also by the end of the contract, it's really imperative that you train the minimum number of participants that you propose in your application, as Bill mentioned, and that you graduate a minimum of 75% of the participants and place each program completer in a quality placement outcome, either registered apprenticeship or at an employment opportunity of $15 an hour. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to elaborate, Bill, on
Yeah,
that,
I
but
just like to define some of these terms, because sometimes it gets confusing when we use terms like graduate or completers. So a graduate would be somebody who enters your training program and completes your training program. The training program will be what they receive prior to placement. So if your training program included 100 hours of training, obviously that's a made up number, but if it did, they've completed their 100 hours of training and now you're looking and working towards placement with those individuals. And then the expectation is that you'll place, so you'll complete the 75%. So if you had 100 participants who you enrolled, because that's what you were contracted to enroll, you would be expected to graduate or complete 75 of them from the training aspect, and then place all 75 of them into one of those two outcomes that we discussed before, which are registered apprenticeship or employment in the construction trades at more than at $15 or more an hour. So hopefully that just adds some clarity and to the words that we use within this, because believe me, you'll get used to some of them. You'll also get used to all the acronyms we love to use here in government. But at the end of the day, it's completely understood that sometimes those things are a little bit confusing.
Thanks so much, Bill, and thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to work with you, and best of luck. And I'll turn it back over to Bill. Thanks again.
All right, so hopefully you won't get sick and tired of my voice, because I know I'm doing a lot of talking here. Your answer, Jacqueline, will get answered here shortly once I get into these reports, um, and showing you our what we call our user guides for these reports. So hopefully that will answer your question. But just know, as stated there by David, you'll have to complete a monthly activity and a monthly expenditure report. They're due by the 15th of the month every month, and you're always completing them for the previous month. So your grant started on June 1st. Um, it's July 15th tomorrow. Obviously, we don't expect you to get them submitted on a Saturday, so don't get too worried. But your first report will be done sometime between the 15th and the end of the month for this first month. So we'll expect you to get those reports into us, but we're going to go over them. We'll provide you with the user guides when we're done with this meeting today, and you'll be able to get started on them, and also obviously reach out to us with any questions or any assistance that you need. Um, but always pay close attention to the months in which you're starting the report. You should, if it's the month of July and you're starting a report, it should always be for June. If you're starting a report in August, it should be for July, and so on and so forth. Those things are very important for you to pay attention to, because ultimately, if you submit the wrong report, it could affect your ability to start a report in the subsequent month. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is switch slideshows, because I'm going to show you the user guides and go through them one at a time. So here we are. We're into our new slideshow. So much fun. You thought we were almost done, right? And we went from a 10-page slideshow to a 30-page slideshow. So first things first, as we stated, your grant is going to have a requirement of monthly activity and monthly expenditure report submittals. The activity report will be to show us what activities were provided to your participants on a monthly basis and where they are in the process of completion. The expenditure reports are going to be what you submit to us for reimbursement of funding. So we are a reimbursement model, so that does ultimately mean that you have to um, front the money for any of these expenses, and then you bill us for it right afterwards. But ultimately, those activity and expenditure reports will be due on the 15th of every month, and they should reflect all of the activity and expenses for the prior month. All right. So first things first, we're going to quickly go over the login process if you don't remember this or haven't used the database in a little bit. So you'll log on to the IGX database, which is https:// njdol.intelligrants.com. You'll enter the username and password in which you used in order to gain entry to the application when you were starting your application. And at that time, it will you'll click the login button. If you are a new user and you need to gain access to the applications because you weren't with the organization back when um, the application was completed, you can then click the new user button, which would be right under the password, and register as a new user, and then notify us at the apprenticeship unit at dol.nj.gov email address, and we will get you and give you access to both the application and to all of your reports. Once you've logged into the IGX database, you'll need to find your application in order to get into the process to complete your monthly activity and expenditure reports. So the first way to do that is going to be by going to your My Tasks button. Under My Tasks, you should be able to find your application. If your contract has not been signed, which in this case all of your contracts have been signed, they should show actually they won't show up in your bins right now because they haven't been signed by our commissioner. So they were signed by you guys. Right now they're in the process of getting signed by our commissioner. So they won't be in your My Tasks bin, but I will show you in a second how to find them using the searches tab at the top. But once it gets signed by our commissioner, your application will show up in your My Tasks bin, and you'll be able to capture it and open it up by clicking on the hyperlink under the word under name under My Tasks. Initially, like I said, it won't be under My Tasks, so you'll have to go to the Searches tab at the top of the screen when you log in on your dashboard. When you click on the little arrow next to Searches, it'll open up Recent Documents or My Documents. You'll want to click on My Documents, change the type to NJ Build Application 2023, and hit Search. Once you do so, it will pull up the documents that you have with us under NJ Build, and you'll want to open up the Women and Minorities application that you have with us that was approved and funded. When you click on the hyperlink under name, it will open up your application just like it would have on My Tasks if it was there. What'll happen when you do this is it'll open up the application that you guys had to submit and complete and get submitted to us in order for the funding to be awarded to you. That um, panel on the left-hand side in blue, you'll scroll all the way down to the bottom and you'll find related documents. Related documents is where you're going to find the ability to start your activity and your expenditure reports. It's also where you would go to in the future to look at any past submitted expenditure or activity reports if you needed to go back and look at anything. You'll click on Initiate a Related Document under Related Documents, and that'll pull up the next step. Once you click on Initiate Related Documents, it's going to want to know what kind of document you want to start. The parent document will be pre-filled. You don't have to change anything there. The available documents, you'll click the drop down and you'll find Women and Minorities in Construction Activity Report, and then you're going to look for the month in which you're trying to start. As I said before, if it's July, you're looking to find the June report. If it's August, you're looking to find the July report. And if it's September, you're looking to find the August report, and so on and so forth. Once you find the correct report, you would click on it in that drop down menu, and you'd click the Create button. When you click the Create button, what that does is it actually creates and starts your activity report. First thing it's going to do is ask you if you agree to start that report. If you do not agree, if you look at this and see, oh, wait, I started the wrong month, I don't want to start this, you can hit decline and nothing will happen. If you hit agree, it will create the report and it'll move you to the next step. Once you click agree, the actual report gets created and you'll be in the report. Once you're in the report, you'll see your forms menu on that left-hand side, just like you did in your application, and it'll list all of the reports that or the pages within the report that you need to complete. Those are listed here in the middle. If for some reason your report is initiated, but you don't complete it and submit it to us, and you need to come back to it at a later date or a later time in order to complete it, it will go under your My Tasks on your dashboard when you first log into the database. It'll be in there until you submit it to us for review. And as long as we approve it, it won't be in that My Tasks any longer. You'll have to go to that related documents section of your application to find it in the future. But if we send it back because we need edits and we need you to fix something, it will go back into your My Tasks bin on your dashboard, like we were talking about earlier. So first things first, let's get started on these pages that need to be completed within the activity report. Okay, so as I said, the first page that's listed here under the forms menu for the activity report is going to be your participant list. When you first create the actual activity report, it's going to put you on this document landing page. It's the same as it did in the application. This document landing page is just some basic information about your organization and the document in which you're created. The participant list page is exactly what you would think it is. It's a listing of all the participants in which you're providing services to. At the top, under page name, you can name it anything you wish. Ultimately, if you want to name it under a specific training that you're doing for these participants, you can, or you can just put a number 1 on there if you want for page 1. It's really up to you what you want to name the page. It's not a mandatory field that you fill out, but ultimately it's there and you can fill in um, at any time necessary. Once you start entering a person's information, you need to make sure you enter all the fields. The only field that's not mandatory that you see here is the AOSOS field. That field can be added by us at a later date, and that basically just tells us what their OSOS ID number is. AOSOS is the database that we use at the Department of Labor through our one-stop system to be able to track what these participants have received through the one-stop. AOSOS assigns a specific number to them, and that would allow for us to find them within that AOSOS database if we needed to look through it for any reason. But that field is not mandatory. You can provide it if you have it, but it's not mandatory. Once you've completed entering all of the information for your first participant, you would hit the plus sign at the end, and that will create a whole nother box for you to fill out for your second participant, and so on and so forth. Always make sure you're using the plus sign. Do not click the add button in the top right hand corner unless you've added all the people you want to add to this page, and now you want to create a new page. The add button is not what you should use in order to add another participant. It should be what you'd use to add another page of the participant list. Okay. Always make sure when you're done entering information, and please feel free to do this as much as you would like, to click the save button. You'll notice the unique ID number that is listed within each participant is not something you're going to enter yourself. The database will create that for you, and it will enter a unique ID for each participant once you click the save button. That unique ID number will follow this participant to other pages and allows for us to be able to track them throughout these documents a little more easily. The next page within the forms menu is the quality partner page. This is where you're going to list those partners that you're working with for both the employment and the registered apprenticeship. So you'll choose a quality partner type in the dropdown, and then you'll enter the information for that partner next to it. This information is necessary in order to complete any placements that you make on future page on some on pages that follow this. If you do not enter this information, you will not be able to show outcomes for your participants on the following pages. So make sure that you enter that quality partner information here. And if you need to add additional quality partners, you click the plus sign. Once you're done doing all this, always make sure you use the save button so that we have that information saved and it's there for future use. If you needed multiple pages of the quality partner, which is probably not likely, but could be the case, you can click the add button and it'll create a whole nother quality partner page. But it's not necessary if you don't go over, I think it's like 20. I think you have like the ability to enter up to 20 quality partners on this page. But just always remember to click the save button. In this case, all the fields are mandatory for you to complete on the quality partner page. Okay. The next page is your quality employer or apprenticeship page. And one of the interesting things about this page is that it actually automatically creates a page for each participant you entered on the participant list. So you don't actually have to go to this page and create a page for each one of those participants. They're already there for you, and you'll have to go into each individual page to update them. In the initial month, when you first add somebody, you're going to have to go there for all participants that you've added, because you're going to need to be able to show, provide us with additional details on each one of those participants. But for the following months after that, all you'll have to do is go to those pages when you need to make updates to those pages. This is what the quality employer apprenticeship page looks like. As you can tell at the top, it pulls in the participant's name and their unique ID number, and it asks you for some additional information on the participant and their progress in your program. You should not be entering anybody onto this until after the program enrollment date. That's because we don't want you to have a whole bunch of people on your database that actually never show up to your program. Enter them once they've entered your program and they've started training, and that's when they should show up here. You should put them on your participant list page based on them entering the program last month. Participant progress is basically following whether or not they're still in the program or they've stopped showing up. Enrollment date is exactly as I said. That's the date in which they're going to start in the training program. Completion date is only entered once they've completed, um, and that's completion of the training. Okay, and entry into employment. 30-day retention date is 30 days past that program completion date. 60-day retention will be 60 days past that program completion date. If for some reason their progress gets stopped and they don't complete the program, you will not enter a program completion date. You'll enter an exit reason. You enter that exit reason and that'll tell us what happened. Maybe they stopped showing up or whatever, but ultimately you choose an exit reason, and that will show us that the participants stopped showing up and did not complete. So they exited the program early. The quality partner information is what I just showed you on the quality partner page. This is where, in that drop down menu that you see under type of quality outcome, you're going to choose whether it's a registered apprenticeship or employment of $15 or more an hour. And then another drop down will come up under quality employer or apprenticeship, and it'll show what you've entered on that quality partner page in that drop down. You'll choose the quality employer or apprenticeship that you've entered on the quality partner page, and it will allow for you to then provide the additional information. You'll provide us with their NAICS code, which is the industry code that the placement was in, the occupation or trade to the best of your ability, their previous hourly wages, what they made prior to being in your program. Now their starting hourly wage is going to be what they're making at this new job that they just started based on your program. If they enter into a registered apprenticeship, you'll provide us with the status of apprenticeship with USDOL. Um, and then you'll also provide us with the date of apprenticeship enrollment, which is all information that's based on when they were registered with USDOL in their rapid system for that registered apprenticeship program. You would only provide us with those two fields, and that's why it says if applicable, if the type of quality outcome is registered apprenticeship. For credential information, you'll see a plus sign at the end of the line here for that one and for valuable documents. The reason is you can get multiple credentials or multiple valuable documents through the time frame in which they work with you. You'll provide us with the type of credential, the number of hours for training, and the date that they received the credential. And then, like I said, you'll hit the plus sign if you have to add multiples. For valuable documents, once again, you'll click the drop down for document type, choose which type of document it is, upload some form of proof that they received the document, and then provide the date that you verified that they received the document. Once again, if they get multiples, then you'll hit the plus sign. Examples of credentials are anything industry recognized. Could be OSHA 10, OSHA 30. It could be CPR. It could be lots of different things. Valuable documents would be like a driver's license, something like that, like identification, something that helps them get employment or get into the workforce. The next page is your stipend recipients page. For those of you who budgeted for stipends to be provided to your participants, this page is going to be mandatory that you complete it anytime you provide your recipients with a stipend. So if last month you provided a stipend to your participants in the amount of $200, you would choose the drop down for name, click on that participant, enter $200 in the stipend cost, and then hit save. What'll happen is this will follow from month to month. It won't be something that you have to enter every month, but ultimately you'll be able to update it next month when you maybe give them another $200 in stipends. So what'll happen then is you'll find the name of the person. They'll already be listed on the stipend recipients page. The cumulative cost will show the $200 you gave them last month, and now you'll enter what you've given them this month in the stipend cost. The stipend received checkbox is what you're checking if the stipend was received by the participant already. Okay. Once again, you'll use the plus sign at the end in order to add additional stipend recipients, and make sure you save the button, hit the save button when you've completed entering information, so that the information gets saved and you can move on to the next step. The final page is a dashboard page. Your dashboard page is like a roll up of a bunch of information that you've entered on a lot of the different stuff, a lot of the different pages. But ultimately what this allows for you to do is provide us with a little more detail as far as like comments and information about those numbers. So the grant project director will be the person who's overseeing your grant. You'll have to enter that person's name at the top. The program status comments is where you're going to provide us with where you are right now in your program status. We want to comment on exactly how things are going, what it is you're doing, if there's anything that you are running into as issues, if there's anything positive that's occurring. Ultimately, it should be a quick little blurb that explains where things are with your program right now. All the demographics, the quality placement outcomes, the contractual performance measures automatically populate. You don't have to do anything with those sections other than maybe look at it and make sure it looks accurate. The next thing you'll see is your cycles. When you enter your participants, you got to choose a cycle for each one of them. When you choose that cycle, it'll enter them in the achievements column next to it. And then you'll enter your start and end dates for your cycles so that we know when they start and when they end. And you'll provide us comments on those participants that are in that cycle and what's going on in that cycle currently. You do not need to enter a start and end date for any cycles that do not have participants in it currently. You only need to provide a start and end date or a comment when there is a participant that is in that cycle. So in the case in which we're showing you here as an example, you would enter a start and end date for cycle 1 and provide us with a comment on cycle 1, but you would not need to enter any information for cycles 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. On the right hand side of the page is where we have more information about completion of the program, and entry into outcomes. Once there's a number in that column next to the blue section um, on this part of the report, you must provide us with a comment next to it telling us what's going on with those individuals, and or if there are any issues that have arisen with those issues. Once with those participants. Once you've completed entering all this information, you can click the save button. Hopefully there's no errors that come up on the page, because the errors will check and balance whether or not you've entered the information appropriately. If it comes up, then just try and respond to those errors and get your stuff taken care of as quickly as possible. Once you have done so, resave the page and the errors should go away. So once you've completed all those pages and you are pretty sure they're all ready to go, what we want you to do is do a document validation. Basically, that's an error check. It checks to make sure that there were no errors on any of the pages that you completed. So you click on the document validation under Tools, which is in the same menu on that left-hand side of your screen as all the documents were, and you'll find document validation. You click on it, it'll bring up any pages that have errors on them. You can click on them by clicking on form name, or you can scroll up on the menu and find those pages yourself. Open them up and make the changes to the page to eliminate the errors. Once the errors go away, resave the page, come back, do another document validation. There should be nothing that shows up here, and then you can move on to the next step. The last thing you'll need to do with your activity report, after you've checked to make sure there's no errors on your documents, is to submit your report to us for review and approval. Um, so you'll do that by scrolling down on that menu on the left-hand side and finding status options, the heading status options. You should only see the status under there of activity report submitted. Once you're ready, you'll click submitted, and it will prompt you by giving you this, are you sure you want to change the status of this form? I'm sure by now you'll be very excited to get rid of this report and move on to the next month. So you click OK. But if for some reason you're like, oh, wait, I forgot about this, you can click cancel and go back, and you do not have to submit it to us at that time. Once you click OK, it will change the status of your document, and it'll show up with us for our review and approval, and or for us to send it back to you for any edits if necessary. So that's the activity report process. Now we'll get into the expenditure report process. Much easier than the activity report process, I promise. Um, the expenditure report is how you're going to bill us on a monthly basis. You will have to complete one of these on a monthly basis, just like the activity reports, even if you have no activity or expenses to report to us. Um, you'll open your expenditure report the same way you opened your activity report, by going to related documents and clicking initiate related doc. You can do this from either within the activity report or within the application. You can also open an activity report within the expenditure report if you do the expenditure report first. Just know, once you submit them to us, though, we will not review the expenditure report prior to receipt of the activity report. We want to see the activity that you're reporting before we approve an expenditure report on a monthly basis. So they both need to be submitted for us to be able to complete either of them. So once you click the initiate related document, that tab will come up again that asks you what type of document you want to start. Under available documents, you're going to scroll down and find Women and Minorities in Construction Expenditure Report this time. Last time we looked for Activity Report, and then you're going to want to open it up for the month and year in which you are trying to start the report. Once again, if it's July 2023, you're going to start the June 2023 report. Pay attention to that year at the end, because you guys do have 18-month contracts. So there's going to be reports in here that are for both 2023 and 2024. You may have 2 Junes in there. Make sure you're opening up June 2023 when you first open up your first report. It is important to pay attention to those things, because if you open the wrong report, it does sometimes take a while for us to have them fix it on the back end, or in some cases, we may have to purge it out of the system and have you redo it all over again. And we would much prefer to not have to do that. So always pay close attention to the report dates that you're starting, and make sure that you're starting up the appropriate report every month. Once you find that document that you're trying to start, you'll click the create button, and it will prompt you with the agree page once again. You'll click agree, because now I know you want to get paid. So you're going to click agree, and it will create your actual document. Once again, when you're in your document, the same as we showed you for the activity reports, if for some reason you didn't complete this report right now, it will show up in your My Tasks next time you log in, and you can you can click on it and open it and complete the document at that time. But initially, when you log in, you'll see the menu here on the left-hand side of your screen. It'll be blue. Right now, it's on the right-hand side of your screen, but when you log in, it'll be on the left-hand side of your screen. And the first page you'll start with is NJ Build Expenditure Report. So the expenditure report is basically going to show you what your budget said. So you created a budget. We have what's called a cost summary within that budget, which is a roll up of your budget. And that's what's going to show here on the left-hand side of your screen, where you see cost category and approved grant amount. That's coming directly from your cost summary and your budget. It's going to break down all the cost categories that you budgeted for and the approved amount that you budgeted for. You're going to, on a monthly basis, update the current expenses column. If you have no current expenses, you can leave the zeros in there and save the page. If you do have expenses for the current month, you'll enter them here and save the page. What's going to then happen is your available balance column is going to update, subtracting how much you've entered in the current expenses from what you were approved for. Now, in future months, it's not just going to subtract what you've put in for the current month, it'll also subtract the amount expended to date because that's previous month's expenditures. But that available balance, it's very important that you make sure that you're never going over your available balance. By that, I mean you don't have a negative available balance for any line items. That would ultimately be putting you outside the bounds of your contract, and ultimately we would have to send that back to you and have you fix it. Um, at the end of the day, it's pretty simple. Whatever your expenses were for the previous month, that you paid out, you come here, you enter them in the current expenses, you hit save, and that will tell us how much money we owe you for previous month's services. That's the expenditure report. Like I said, make sure you hit the save button when you've completed this, and make sure you pay attention to what's in that total cost for current expenses, because that's something you'll need to check on some future page, on a future page. The miscellaneous attachments page is where you're going to upload any supporting documentation. If any of you have OJT, which I believe only one of you has OJT funds built in, this is where you would provide us with proof of payment for OJT. And by that, I mean like payroll records. You would show us the payroll records for those participants, and we would be able to then check and balance it against the OJT. We only pay 50% of your OJT of the person's salary for OJT, and we only pay for um, the first 40 hours. We don't pay anything for overtime. We also don't pay holiday pay. We pay regular pay only. We don't pay sick time, leave time. We pay half of your working hours on the job because it's specific to the training. It's not specific to the employer and the participant. Um, we expect that during those hours, you're getting trained on the job, and you're not getting trained on the job using sick time or holiday pay. That the employer has to cover those things 100% on their own. We would only cover the hours in which you're working within that 40-hour time frame. If you worked overtime, we also don't pay the overtime rates. Um, at the end of the day, you could also provide any other supporting documentation here that you feel is necessary, but this page is not mandatory in most cases. It is mandatory that you include anything if you build from OJT though. Once you've entered all of the attachments by entering a description of what the attachment is, so if it was a payroll stub, the person's name and the fact that it's payroll, and then uploading a proof of it, so you would hit select and you'd have it and you choose it within your documents, or you can drag the document into this white and blue area here on the right hand side, and it will attach it automatically. That does sometimes give people trouble because it has to be like attached in a very specific place. Most of the time it's easiest just to click select and choose the document that you want to upload. Once you've uploaded any documents here though, always please make sure you save the page. The last thing you're going to need to complete for your expenditure reports is your payment voucher. Your payment voucher is what goes to our fiscal department so that they can make payment to your organization. What'll pull at the top will be information about your organization and the total amount that was in that area on your expenditure report that I told you guys to um, remember earlier. If that amount matches what was in that total cost column for your expenditures for the current month, you'll check that box under payee declaration, and you can add a description of the item if you wish at the bottom next to the amount. Some people will just put June 2023's billing for women and minorities in construction. You can put whatever you want in there. It's really up to you. It's almost like a reference line in a checkbook. Um, and then once you've done with that, you'll save the page. Make sure you check that box because without checking that box, it does not complete the payment voucher. So the last step that you'll need to take is to submit your expenditure report. Just like you submitted your activity reports, you'll scroll down on the menu on the left-hand side, find status options, and click expenditure report submitted, review required. Review is by us here in the Office of Apprenticeship. We'll get it after you hit OK. It'll come to us. We'll review it for accuracy, make sure we don't have any questions on anything. If we're good on everything, we'll approve it and make give it to our fiscal department so that payment can be made as per the directions of your contract. If for some reason you click on this and you say, oh, wait, I have more billing that I need to submit, I don't want to submit this now, you can hit cancel and go back and update it before you submit it, and then come back to here and click OK after you click on expenditure report submitted at that time. It's really up to you. But once you've submitted it to us, you can't make any changes to the report. You can add any additional expenses to next month's report, obviously, and it's not that big a deal. Once you've submitted both your activity and expenditure report, you are all finished for the month, and you can have a nice, fun, long weekend, hopefully, if it's a Friday. The goal here for these documents is for us to be able to use this information in order to track where your grants are at all times. It's also for us to be able to ensure that you're in line with the requirements of the grant and that you're doing things as per what your contract stated. Um, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have Tammy take over the slideshow again, and we'll go back to the other slides. So the next important piece of information to go over is if any of you are doing a pre-apprenticeship model and have a registered apprenticeship program, this is a listing of all the USDOL contacts, so that you can reach out to your field representative. That field representative is there to assist you in any questions that you have in reference to your registered apprenticeship program. They're also there to help you with getting your registered apprenticeship program completed, finalized, and approved. So this is their counties in which they are field representatives for. If your program is within one of those counties, you can reach out to them using these email addresses. And then Michael Blatt is the state director, and he's always pretty responsive to us. So you could always reach out to him as well. Next slide. The final thing is a breakdown of us, who we are. So James Manning, Jim Manning, you probably all have either had contact with him or remember him from our technical assistance workshops. He's the chief of the programs and contracts unit. That's his contact information. Bill Sarbuck is myself as well. I'm the supervisor of the grant and programs area. That's my contact information. David Spector, who's currently the lead here on our NJ Build grants. That's his contact information. And please always feel free to reach out to us utilizing the apprenticeship unit at dol.nj.gov email address. That comes to everybody within our Office of Apprenticeship at once. And if something was to happen and David was out sick or on vacation, that would come to us all, and we would be able to answer any questions or help you in a more timely manner rather than making you wait around. The last slide is questions and comments. So I see we have something in the chat. Let me just make sure. All right, so Jacqueline, I'm pretty sure we answered your first report question, but just to be clear, it'll be due by the end of this month, so you got to get it in by July 31st, and that will be for June's reporting, June 1st to June 30th. We're giving you a little bit extra time than this first month, obviously, because we're just having a meeting on the 14th and it's due on the 15th. So we're giving you a little bit more time. Next month, your report will be due by August 15th, and that'll be for July 1st through July 31st. Hopefully we admitted that person, Margaret, into the meeting. But like I said earlier, if not, we are recording and we'll provide you with everything and you can give it to them. Yes, as I said at the beginning, Patricia, we will provide all of the slides as well as the recording of this meeting. And what goes into the cycle number? Yes, that is the cohorts. That your cycle is how you broke it down on your deliverables page within your application. You can go back to that and look at it and you'll see. But ultimately, but the cycles are listed there. You entered them. You chose what cycle you were going to do and how many participants and what the occupation was going to be on that deliverables page. It's also something you can find within your contract. Towards the bottom of your contract, you'll see what cycles and cohorts. But yes, basically it equates to a cohort in most cases. Are we permitted to use the word free on any advertising? So I'm guessing you're trying to say the program is free. First things first, Julia, any advertising you're doing for the program, you should submit to us for review first. Sometimes it has to go through our marketing department to make sure that it's allowable. Um, I would say uh, the answer is you can say at no cost to the participant. I don't know that we can use the word free. Um, because that is a little misleading in that it's being paid for, but it's being paid for through our program. So I just want to be sure that we're not doing anything that would be wrong. But either way, like I said, once you put together any advertising documentation, um, please let us know what it is and we can check and balance and make sure that there aren't any issues with what you're submitting. You can send it right through David or through the apprenticeship unit at dol.nj.gov email address. If a student enrolls in the program, completes it, and decides not to find employment in the field for personal reasons, how do we report this? So you would report it by not showing an outcome for this participant, so they would not have placement. You can enter into your comments section on your dashboard when they come up on there as not non-completers or or you can enter it on the section where there's information about the outcomes. Um, why this person did not go into the field. The hope is that they don't go through a whole bunch of training to then realize they don't want to be in the field. Um, and maybe that's part of your ongoing counseling that can be provided to your participants to try and work with them and ensure that, throughout the time that they're within the program, that um, they're not there for the wrong reasons, that they're there for the to learn a new skill and trade so that they can get into the field. But you can provide us with details within your dashboard page on those participants that happens. Is there any marketing material for NJ Build needed for flyers, brochures, etc., other than NJDOL logo? Like I said, we don't have any specific marketing material that we could give you. But if you guys put together something, you can provide it to us and we can review it and make sure that it's allowable. Sometimes utilizing our logo is not as simple as just throwing it on there. It's sometimes not even allowable. So um, I would say if you put together marketing material, send it to us. We'll get it reviewed and approved and let you know as soon as possible that you're ready to go use it. We also have the ability to send out like brochures and flyers through our own database of employers and participants that are out there that have shown interest in apprenticeship. Um, that's something that David Spector can help you with. So if you want to reach out to him, he could possibly give you some information on how to do that for future um, marketing of your program. If our program doesn't start until September, do we start submitting reports on October 15th? No. You start submitting reports right away. Your reports would just show that you have no participants, and most likely it would show very little to none on expenses between now and then. Obviously, there could be some expenses when it comes to the marketing of the program, but ultimately we wouldn't necessarily want to be paying for a whole lot of stuff that wasn't actually being utilized at the time, or there wasn't any services being provided. But you would still submit a June, July, and August report. Um, and then you would start submitting reports that kind of show us more details on the participants starting on October 15th. Yes. Right. That looks like all the questions that were in the chat. Do we have any other questions? At this time, you could feel free to unmute yourself and ask those questions. You can enter them into the chat if that's easier. I know that's sometimes easier for me. Um, Whatever way you'd prefer, I'll give you a minute or so to make that decision, or forever hold your peace.
Hi, this is Eva from Newark. Just
Hi,
have a
Eva.
quick question, hi, regarding the entering of the participants, or maybe I may have missed it. So now for moving forward, these participants, because I know that in the past we had some stuff going on. So these participants will be the ones that we vetted and are sure are going to start the program. So would it be safe to enter the participants a week after the program starts or within that same week so that we sure that we are capturing the participants that are actually in the program so we won't have
Yeah,
a whole lot of participants that might just drop out and then we don't
right.
know what to do.
Exactly. Yes, we would suggest that you don't enter them onto this report onto any of these reports until they've already participated in the program. I'm not saying you have to wait 2 weeks. It's just if your start date um is July 1st, you don't want to enter them in May with the expectation they're going to show up on July 1st, because we all know they find something better every day and they might not show up on July 1st. So, at the end of the day, it just makes most sense because it doesn't negatively impact your numbers on your reporting, because they're going to show up on the report if you enter them there, and they're going to look like somebody just didn't show up. And why is that the case? So I'd rather you not waste the time and energy entering them on the reports until you know that they're going to be participants. It just makes more sense, and you'll know they're going to be participants once they've actually shown up to your program, in my opinion. If you guys feel more comfortable in some scenarios adding them to the reports a little bit early, um, I will always take your side. I'm on your team. So, at the end of the
Yeah.
day, whatever you guys feel works best for you, please feel free to do. It just tends to be in your best interest to wait until they've participated actually in the program to enter them.
Okay, sounds good, thank you.
No problem. Anybody else?
Oh, yes, one more question. And for the documentation such as the birth certificates, IDs,
Mhm.
all those documentations, we would only enter or attach them if we help them attain those documents, correct?
Correct. Yes. If they get it on their own, it really doesn't make sense for you to put them on there. But if they obtain any of those things with your assistance, or your program's assistance, or even a referral to somebody that helps them, you would definitely want to enter them at that point. It's
Got
more like tracking. We're just trying to make sure that if the participants are receiving something beneficial through the program, that we're
mhm.
tracking it, um, and that we're ensuring that we understand the benefits that the program provides beyond just placement.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, unless somebody jumps in here real quick, I think I'm going to thank you all for your time, uh, and listening to my voice for so long. And uh, I'm going to wish you all a good weekend. And we are excited to get started and looking forward to working together. Um, Always feel free to reach out to us with any questions or any assistance that you need. That's what we're here for. Our goal here is at the Office of Apprenticeship is to help you guys be successful. So don't think any question is going to be looked at as anything other than what it is, which is really something that's going to help you do your job better with your participants. So please always feel free to come to us, whether it's coming directly to me, going through the apprenticeship unit, or through David. Always feel free to reach out for any kinds of any needs that you have in reference to the program. In the meantime, we'll get to you hopefully by the latest Monday or Tuesday. We'll get you the recording of this and the PowerPoints. We do have to have the recording sent through and updated to our YouTube page in order to be able to share it with you, because Teams doesn't let us share it internally, or externally, I guess is the right way to say it. Um, so that usually is done pretty quickly, as long as the people who we have help us with that are in the office. So, but we'll get that to you as soon as we can. Like I said, most likely the latest by Tuesday, but I'm hoping, if not by the end of the day today, by Monday. But otherwise, thank you so much, and everybody have a good day.
Thank you. Take care.